Look so moving on the planet. I love you more than my life. And I let them young baby. And I can let them
Takes me back to 1954, when many of your fathers were not even born, and I landed on the shores of Great Britain as a 17-year-old. Calculate, I'm 84, don't waste time. And I was the only female, no, there was also Jessie from Aden, with eight young men, 8 students, and we were sent to Great Britain on a scholarship. Our education was paid for by British taxpayers because we were from British Somaliland Protectorate. We were born British. We were part of that great big empire where the sun never set. In 1954, I came to study nursing and midwifery. And when I was trained and taught by the best, I returned home in 1961 as my country's first female nurse midwife, but first female to be appointed to the civil service, to the senior civil service of my country. The hurdles were many. The obstacles were enormous. But tenacity is what brought me to this day. Today, as a former foreign minister of Somaliland, today as somebody who held quite a few positions back home, the most difficult baby I've ever had to deliver is baby Somaliland. But I don't know why it should be so difficult to deliver baby Somaliland. Because this baby is born to a country where democracy reigns. Somaliland, being the first fully sovereign, independent Somali nation, gained its independence on the 26th of June, 1960. We became the 12th African country to gain full sovereignty and independence at that time. Madagascar was number 13. And 42 countries in Africa sitting in the African Union today, or if sitting in that union, were still under colonial rule when Somaliland was independent and sovereign. Among those 42 countries that were still under colonial rule was La Somalia Italiana, Italian Somalia, and the Somalia of today that you all know about, you all hear about for various reasons, including the elections that they promised to hold and that never become realized. Baby Somaliland is born to a country, when recognized, will be born to a country where its people fought that massive civil war between 1982 and 1991. And this history that I'm telling you is for the benefit of those, our friends, who do not know about the true history of Somaliland. In 1982, young students took arms, threw stones, and said, enough is enough. Enough oppression. Enough injustice. Enough deportations. Enough destruction of our economy, poisoning of our wells, arresting our parents, torturing our grandparents, slaughtering our mothers. They threw stones. And those stones that they threw in May 1982 led to the war that lasted until 1991. When, after a brutal civil war, when Somalia, the military army of Somalia, took MiG fighters in the air from Hargeisa airport or from Bur'a airport, only to bomb the civilian population living in those cities. Aircrafts, bombers would take off from Hargeisa airport, and in 4 minutes, those MiGs would circle around Hargeisa and empty their holds of the bombs they carried 3 times, 4 times a day. And each time these pilots took off from the airport and dropped these bombs on the civilians, the pilots, the mercenary pilots, were awarded $4,000 for killing innocent civilians. So when a pilot did 4 sorties a day, he went home with $16,000, having killed that many people. How brave could they be? I think they were cowards, because they were afraid of justice. They were afraid of doing the right thing, and instead they were paid and rewarded for killing innocent victims. Children going to school. You all know Hargeisa. Malka Durduro, that school near the military camp, where Siad Barre had his massive killing machines. Mothers would tell their children going to school, and particularly if they had a tall son or a tall daughter, please, Hoyo, if the military come to your school, don't stand up to your full height. Make yourself short. And do you know why? Because whenever the military, Siad Barre's troops, needed blood for transfusion, and very often some of that blood was sent to Mogadishu, they would go to a school and they would get the children to stand up. And they would pick on the tallest, the healthiest looking, and they would bring them out to the corridor and bleed those children until they were bled dry. Not 1 unit or 2, but every drop of blood that that child had in his or her blood or body. And when that child fainted, they would just throw that body, that fainted little child whose life was taken, into that big hole and was just bulldozed. These are the atrocities that brought you and your parents to this country and to many other countries. Our people are scattered all over the world because they escaped the mass killings. They escaped the injustice that was being inflicted upon them by their brothers. Another Somali was inflicting that upon us. And in 1991, when the tanks, military tanks, broke their chains and could not find replacements, when the MiGs needed repair and couldn't fly anymore, and when Siad Barre could not replenish the ammunition that his army was using on the civilians in Somaliland, and when they felt that their mission was accomplished because Somaliland was leveled to the ground, 95% of our cities were leveled to the ground, they packed their bags and they left Somaliland broken, but not beaten. Because Somalilanders closed their border where the British had left it, even protecting the civilian, the military prisoners they had for months upon months, shared water and food with them, and found a safe corridor and said, just go home. We don't want your blood on our hands. We're not going to become like you. Just go home to your families. Get out of Somaliland. And we closed that border and put ourselves down to rebuilding our country. Now tell me, how many African countries have rebuilt their country without any outside help? None that I know of. Totally rebuilt our country because we had no friends. And I'm going to say this in English because I would like Britain to hear this. When Britain fought a war for justice, our sons fought alongside them. My grandfather fought alongside them and was decorated for services to the crown. My father fought alongside Britain and was decorated British Empire Medal for services to the crown. And today we look for Britain to fight alongside us, not to kill anybody, but to give us the justice that we have a right to have. Give us the justice that we are not taking away from anybody else. Give us the justice that we have earned and we have lived for and we have died for, and that we will never give up. We will continue to look for it. 30 years is nothing. 300 years if it needs to, if we need to. We will hold and we will look for it because we have a right to have it. Now, for the gentleman who has written about Somaliland, please know that Somaliland is not a part of Somalia, not a region of Somalia, not a breakaway splinter of Somalia. It's a country that has separated from a union that it tried to enter with Somalia, and when that union failed, we just said, this is not for us. We walk out. We leave this union. You do what you like with Somalia, your country, La Somalia Italiana. You run it the way you want to run it. We will run our country the way we wish to run it, with justice, democracy, and a country that is welcoming its people to live, to grow, and to do better, not to kill. So my appeal to Britain is, don't support us if you think our cause is not just. Don't support us if our recognition is going to harm others. Don't recognize us if there is a reason that qualifies us not to be worthy of recognition. But I know that we are worthy of recognition. We have earned it, we have proven it. 30 years of track record and peace and stability in Somaliland, rising from the ashes, from that, as that proverbial I've forgotten it. The phoenix with the golden wings. My appeal to all of you is, you come from a great country, Somaliland. Be proud of it. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what you have achieved in Birmingham and Sheffield and Bristol and Cardiff and London and Ealing and wherever, Canada, US, you're everywhere. Somalilanders are known for the good qualities that Somalilanders have. My appeal to you is continue doing what you're doing. just do it better. Continue educating your young people, because we need their skills, we need their knowledge. Continue to being role models for other Somalis. Show that all Somalis are not terrorists, because Somalilanders don't have terrorists. Show the world that Somalilanders are not pirates or warlords. Tell the world that we're good people, that are worth doing business with. We welcome you to our country. We welcome you to our shores. We welcome friends. And my appeal to our guests, my honourable mayor to my right, and I'm so happy to see you again, and the Member of Parliament from Ealing. From Ealing? Yes? I'm Southall.
Yes.
Wonderful. And Member of Parliament Gavin Williams, who braved the storm when he refused to go to Mogadishu and instead came to Hargeisa. Far nicer, of course. So I know you've been waiting for us all this evening, but we were stuck in traffic, worse than the traffic in Hargeisa, by the way. But we're here, and I'm so happy that I see you grown.